You look down at your hands and see familiar, almost human fingers, but do not be fooled by the resemblance. Being a chimpanzee is not living in an adventure comedy or a gentle nature documentary. It is existing in a state of perpetual civil war, where politics are written in blood and loyalty lasts only as long as your fear is less than your ambition. You are not humanity's funny cousin, but a survivor in one of the most violent, unstable, and psychologically exhausting societies on planet Earth. Brace yourself, because from now on, your greatest enemy is not the leopard hiding in the shadows. It is your best friend. Your world begins in a shock of dampness and gravity. You fall onto your mother's abdomen, a tangle of dark fur and humid heat, about 30 feet above the forest floor. The scent that baptizes you is not that of tropical flowers, but the metallic aroma of blood and the acrid stench of sweat from an agitated troop. You weigh just under 4 pounds, a minuscule fraction of what you will become, and your skin is pink, covered by a sparse down that doesn't shield you from the wind cutting through the treetop canopy. Your eyes open, but vision is a blur of greens and shadows. Your first instinct, encoded in your genes for millions of years, is to grab hold. Your fingers close with disproportionate strength around the hair on your mother's chest. If you let go, you die. There are no safety nets. Your survival in the first few months depends entirely on a female already exhausted by troop politics. She must carry you while scaling vertical trunks and leaping between branches that sway with your combined weight. You are an absolute biological burden. If a predator appears, or if the group needs to flee a rival community's patrol, your mother will have to choose between her own life and yours. The infant mortality rate is cruel. About 20% of offspring do not survive the first year. Often, the threat comes from within, from your own kind. You hear the screams of the other males in the troop. They are large, weighing between 88 and 132 pounds, and they are driven by testosterone and insecurity. If you are the son of a low-ranking female, or if a new alpha male assumes power now, your life could end in an act of brutal infanticide before you even learn to chew solid leaves. Your crib is a nest of branches and leaves that your mother builds every night, but sleep is never deep. Every snap of a branch in the darkness makes your heart race over 150 beats per minute. You are small, vulnerable, and in the most dangerous place in the world, the bosom of a society that values strength above all else. At 2 years old, you begin to move a few yards away from your mother, testing the strength of your arms. Your legs are short, but your arms already show the muscle density that will eventually allow you to lift twice your own body weight. The chimpanzee's childhood is one of the longest in the animal kingdom, lasting about 5 to 7 years. But don't mistake this for a privilege. It's a necessity for your complex brain to learn how to navigate the social minefield you were born into. You learn to identify more than 200 species of plants, but the most crucial lesson is that of hierarchy. You observe how your mother submits to the males, how she shrinks down and makes panting sounds of deference. You begin to understand that, in this world, etiquette is a matter of life and death. Hunger is a constant companion. Even though you spend almost half the day eating, the fruit-based diet is unreliable. You learn to use tools, cracking nuts with stones, or using sticks to fish for termites. The texture of the dry wood in your hands and the earthy taste of the insects are your rewards for hours of effort. However, your development is marked by a somber fact that you witness for the first time: the hunt. You see the adults of the troop transform. Silence falls over the group as they surround a troop of colobus monkeys. There is no cooperation out of kindness. There is cooperation out of opportunity. When the prey is captured, the forest explodes into a cacophony of hysterical screams. You see the adults tear the still warm meat with their long canines, which can reach 3 centimeters in length. You beg for a piece, but you are pushed away. You discover that, in childhood, you are a second-class citizen. Your growth is slow, and absolute protection is fading. In your 4th year, You still depend on mother's milk, but your mother is already under pressure to reproduce again. Weaning is a physical and emotional trauma. She starts pushing you away, biting you lightly when you try to nurse. The rejection hurts more than falling from the branches. While you cry for attention, those same playmates you share mud with are, secretly, mapping your weaknesses for the territorial battles that will define your adult life. You are growing up to become a soldier in a war that never ends, and the training just turned lethal. At 10 years old, you have reached physical maturity, but your life has become a nightmare of social anxiety. You are a young male in a troop of 30 individuals. Your strength is terrifying. Your muscle fibers are much denser than a human's, allowing for bursts of energy that can dismember prey or a rival. But brute strength is nothing without alliances. You spend hours a day picking parasites and dirt from the fur of older males. This behavior isn't hygiene, it's political bribery. If you don't dedicate enough time to it, you will be left without allies when the fight starts. And the fight always starts. Your routine is exhausting. You wake up at dawn, with the forest temperature around 22 degrees Celsius, and you immediately need to decide who to support. The current alpha male is being challenged. You hear the rhythmic screams that echo for miles. The challenger begins a dominance display. He runs through the vegetation, tears off branches, throws rocks, and drums on tree trunks with his hands and feet, creating a drumming sound that reverberates in your chest. The noise is deafening, reaching over 100 decibels. You need to choose a side. If you choose the loser, you will be beaten, have your face torn open, and possibly lose fingers. If you don't choose any side, both may attack you for suspicion of treason. Chronic stress destroys your immune system. Your levels of cortisol, the stress hormone, are permanently elevated. Besides the internal politics, there are the border patrols. You and the other males walk in absolute silence along the edges of your 20 square kilometer territory. If you encounter a lone male from another troop, the order isn't to scare him away. It is extermination. You will participate in coordinated attacks where the objective is to immobilize the enemy and bite him to death, focusing on the throat and the reproductive region. All that superior intelligence, which humans admire so much in you, is now being channeled into planning a premeditated murder. Getting food is a daily struggle. You need about 2,500 calories a day. When the fig trees are bare, you resort to tree bark and bitter leaves that irritate your stomach. You suffer from intestinal parasites that drain your energy. Sometimes you find a dead animal and consume it, even if it is decomposing, due to the desperate need for protein. Your life is not a search for happiness. It is a constant management of risks and deprivations. At the peak of your strength, you realize that peace is only the interval between two aggressions. The time has come to try and pass on your genes. But for a chimpanzee, the reproductive encounter is a transaction of power and violence. The females enter estrus, and the evidence is visual. The posterior region swells and turns a bright pink, increasing in volume until it takes up nearly 20% of their lower body weight. The scent of hormones saturates the forest air, and the troop enters a frenzy. You are not the only one interested. The alpha male claims priority, but he cannot watch all the females all the time. You attempt a strategy of isolation. You try to force a female to follow you into the deep forest, away from the rest of the group. If she resists, you attack her. You use force to ensure she stays by your side for days or weeks. Mating itself is a rapid event, lasting less than 10 seconds. The reproductive process is purely biological. The male positions himself over the female, and the transfer of genetic material occurs mechanically. Often, several males mate with the same female in a short period, which generates sperm competition within her reproductive system. This is why your reproductive cell-producing organs are disproportionately large, weighing about 120 grams, much larger than those of a gorilla or a human. The cost of this period is immense. While you are focused on guarding the female, you do not eat properly and fail to maintain your alliances within the troop. You are vulnerable. Another male can ambush you while you are distracted by the process of copulation. Furthermore, there is the risk of sexually transmitted diseases, which run rampant through chimpanzee communities. Biological desire blinds you to the dangers around you. The moment you believe you are securing the future, you are more exposed than ever to a coup. Even if you succeed in fertilizing her, you will never be certain that the infant is yours and will play no role in raising it. Time is not kind to warriors. At 35 years old, you are a veteran covered in scars. Half of your left ear is missing, lost in a power struggle a decade ago. Your canine teeth, once your primary weapons, are worn down and yellowed, making it hard to chew tough fibers. Your muscle mass begins to atrophy, and arthritis makes every leap between branches a shock of pain that shoots through your spine. The afternoon temperature of 30 degrees Celsius now seems to weigh on your shoulders like a lead blanket. The fall of a chimpanzee is fast. In your society, there is no retirement. The moment you can no longer keep up with the group's march or lack the strength to intimidate the younger ones, you lose your status. You go from a valuable ally to a nuisance. The young males, the ones you watched being born, now shove you and steal your food. They smell your weakness. Social isolation is the first stage of your death. You begin to fall behind on the tracks. The group moves on to a new feeding area, and you, exhausted, decide to rest a little longer at the base of a tree. The silence of the jungle, once the signal for a hunt, is now the signal of your demise. Without the group, you are merely unprotected prey. A leopard, 132 pounds of pure predatory instinct, has been watching you for hours. He knows your reflexes are sluggish. When the attack comes, you try to scream, try to display your old dominance, but your throat is parched and your arms no longer have the torque needed to fight back. After a lifetime of power struggles and territorial killings, your final destiny is to serve as a feast for a predator who cares nothing for your past titles. As the claws tear into your hide, the group continues its political games miles away, and tomorrow, no one will utter a single cry in your memory. Your consciousness fades out in the absolute solitude of the forest floor. You felt every instinct of that life. But nature does not stop. There is another hide waiting for you, other claws, other wings, a new way of seeing the world you cannot even imagine. Your next incarnation has already been chosen. Do you have the courage to discover who you will become? If this life changed your perspective, strengthen the pack with your like. Share this unique vision of the world, and subscribe. Here, you are never the same for long. Your new identity awaits you next week.